DC at one time came up with Batman, Superman, and even a living street that hosts drag shows. Today we have a top 10 of such heroes, not epic but epically strange. Superpowers? Yes. Meaning? Not always. Chance to surprise? Absolutely. This is Mageeka Geeks, Max at the microphone, and here we go. An hero that caused some plots and characters of DC a lot. His real name is Erwin Schwab, and he first appeared in the comic DC Comics Presents number 52. The authors are Keith Giffen and Paul Kupperberg. Initially, he was a villain, then a hero, and then a metaphor for what happens when DC editors lose their sanity. Officially, he might be Erwin Schwab, though under. The question is, after all, he has problems perceiving reality. Not in the sense that he's a bit odd, but on the level that he might have entirely invented his own existence. The story begins with a suit that was sent from a dying planet by an alien named Brumel. No, this is not the Kryptonian cousin of our Superman. The suit was intercepted by a giant radioactive, a space spider, and in the end, among the debris, our hero on Earth finds a green tight fabric and becomes Ambush Bug. At first, he tried to be a villain, teleporting here and there, bothering Superman, teasing Doom Patrol, and annoying the legion of substitute heroes in the 30th century. All he achieved was the collective confusion of superheroes about his actions. Tired of being a useless villain, he suddenly decides to become a hero. And then it begins. Full chaos. He runs around Supergirl's hometown, arrests people for minor offenses, and chases Supergirl, thinking she is Superman trapped in a female body. Seriously, that's what he said. Then he set up a doll, which he believed was alive, named her Chicks, and made her his assistant. And he also tried to assemble a team for his own, the comic. His abilities include teleportation, sheer luck, as he survives where it's impossible to survive, and basic combat skills. He can take on an entire legion of substitute heroes, although that's a questionable achievement. Among the strangest facts is the fact that he was detained several times in Arkham, but they released him because he drove everyone crazy even there. Just as they were almost curing Joker of paranoia, Ambush Bug arrives and tries to arrest him 17 times. Then he tried to hang himself in the cell. However, for some reason, by the heels, he sued the asylum, demanding more electroshock therapy. He died many times, sometimes even several times per episode, and he always returned through the back door in Metropolis. Another interesting thing to add is that for some reason he only likes reading captions and subtitles in comics because he thinks the pictures are for weaklings, and at some point he became so annoying that the DC editorial officially wrote him off in the comic Son of Ambush Bug. Without a budget, without help, without a script plan, he died, disappeared, returned again, and whether all of this was canon or he made it up doesn't really matter. What matters is that he plays an important role in our video because let's face it, this whole story with him is quite strange, murky, including his costume. Green Lantern from the Multiverse. Real name Liesl Pon. First appeared in Green Lantern Volume 2, Issue 188, author Alan Moore. When we think of Green Lanterns, I think we immediately imagine some muscular aliens, stern, heroic, mighty, fighting cosmic evil using willpower and imagination. Well, or at the very least, him. Now forget all that. Meet Liesl Pon, a microscopic yet insanely cool virus. He is a Green Lantern, and he is better than many of his full-sized colleagues. Just so you know, this is a real sentient virus. Smallpox. Yes, it already sounds strange, but it gets even more interesting. His uniqueness lies in the fact that he is the only one capable of fighting microscopic threats inaccessible to the other lanterns. While Hal Jordan demolishes a building, Liesl penetrates inside cells to stop horrors like Despotelis, and that, if anything, is another intelligent virus, only deadly and malevolent. Keeping you updated, some protect galaxies, while others protect immunity. Everyone is important. In the storyline arc of his comics, he had a partner Remus. Together they guarded Sector 119 until that very Despotelis. This virus infected 85% of the planets in the sector, including Remus's home planet. And of course, according to the genre's canon, he dies. For Lils, it was a tragedy, even at the molecular level. On a molecular scale. He didn't give up, he became stronger and began to seek revenge on a cellular level. During the events of the Sinister Corps War, Despotelis infected one of Earth's main Green Lanterns, Guy Gardner. What to do? Right, release one virus to defeat another virus. An ally of NATO implanted Lils into Guy's body. An epic battle began inside the organism. Lils literally shattered the enemy into molecules. After the victory, he delivered Despotelis to Oa, and that, for reference, is the main base of the Green Lanterns, where the development of a vaccine began. Overall, speaking about the character, his comic arc is quite interesting in places, but if we return to our peculiar heroes, just imagine a virus, smallpox, that became a Green Lantern. How did it come to this?
I don't know!
The answer is always simple. The multiverse. A hero whose hands are weapons. Literally. Real name, Floyd Belkin. First appearances, Secret Origins, Volume 2, number 46. Authors, Jared Jones and Curtis V. When it comes to the Legion of Superheroes, you expect telepaths, masters of magnetism, and a guy who controls time. And then comes a guy who can tear off his own arm and hit you on the head with it. Meet Armful of Boy, or if you prefer the trendy version, Splitter. Just a remark, this is not the version we saw in the Suicide Squad, but the original. Keeping you informed, but I'll talk about this version a bit later. Floyd Belkin is a dreamer, a hero, and an enthusiast. He came to audition for the Legion of Superheroes, proudly demonstrating his unique ability. He tore off his own arm and started waving it. The reaction of the jury? Silence, confusion, slight nausea. In the end, the rejection. But Floyd did not give up. Instead of attaching his arm back and sitting down to cry, he went further. He joined a less-known hero team of Lalore, where he was finally appreciated. Sometimes he even helped the Legion, although more as a Plan Z, in case everything else had already exploded, caught fire, and burned out. But again, if we are talking about movies, there is an equivalent in cinema. For example, in James Gunn's film The Suicide Squad of 2021, the character TDK, the detachable kid, appears. Inspired by Floyd. He was played by Nathan Fillion, and he really detached his hands and sent them to the enemies. It seemed epic. In reality, the sight of detached hands slowly slapping guards in the face, leaving them utterly bewildered, a perfect moment, absurdity taken to the absolute. If we briefly gather all the abilities and talents, the following picture emerges. Detachability can detach limbs, mostly arms, but we're not sure where the limit is. Hand-to-hand combat, conditionally hitting someone with a recently detached arm, this is closer to a conceptual performance. And of course, persistence. He is absolutely confident in himself. And let everyone laugh, but without people like him, comics would be much more boring. An interesting fact, in one version, his ability is the result of an unfortunate accident with an anti-gravitational metallurgical device. That is, he just fell unsuccessfully and now can detach his arms. DC, seriously? What do we have in the end? A guy who can detach his arms. Strange? Of course. Interesting? Perhaps with a well-crafted plot? Will we see him on the screens again? Unlikely. So if you ever, yes, you, think that your talent is not needed by anyone, remember this video, watch it again, and remember that you are a star, you are the life of the party, you are fabulous, you're a sweetheart. That even these guys, despite all the teasing, didn't give up, and I forbid you to give up. A living meat grinder from the future, real name, Tenzil Kem, first appeared in the Legion of Superheroes Volume 4, Issue 24. Surprisingly, quite a few people worked on him, namely Jerry Siegel, John Forte, Keith Giffen, Tom Birbaum, and Mary Burbam. And now imagine a world where, due to mutated microbes, all food has become inedible. What to do? Right. Evolve into a super stomach. That's how the descendants of the Bismolian race appeared, whose only way to survive is to learn to eat everything, from steel and concrete to laser guns and energy crystals. Tenzil Kem, aka Matter Eater Lad, won't just snack on a hammer. He can devour an indestructible wonder machine, save the universe, and slightly go insane from the side effects of effects. Well, there's always a cost for such a heavy meal. As soon as he became a prominent member of the Legion of Superheroes, he was immediately drawn into politics on his home planet. Why? Because if you can eat a tank, you're clearly capable of managing a budget. Joking aside, on their planet, they developed such a political system that they chose their leaders via a draft. But Cam didn't get flustered. He became a multimedia star, made his own show with taxpayers' money, but used it for fun trips to Earth and other worlds. A traveling glutton senator. Well, basically just like in real life. Cam's greatest gastronomic feats. Ate an indestructible machine, saved the universe, slightly lost his mind. In a few minutes, sucked out a meteor like a potato from baked skin. Swallowed prison bars like noodles, and ate the god's fingers. Robots. His body is capable of the following actions. It can digest any matter. Gas, liquid, solid. Everything goes into the furnace. It also secretes special enzymes. Want to chew on a titanium rod? Easy. Want to snack on alien armor? Go ahead. And of course, he has metabolic super speed. The more he eats, the faster he moves. So, essentially, his superpower is overeating in battle. But it's not that simple. He was popular with the common people, but annoyed the elite with his crazy charisma and shows funded by state money. He was even once sent to an interdimensional realm akin to Hell, where he technically died, but as is common in comics, later returned as if nothing had happened. It has ever been. At some point, he even married the former villainess Saturn Queen, because even stone-eating politicians deserve happiness. Living proof that color doesn't decide everything. Real name Uluvak. First appeared in Adventure Comics issue number 342, created by Edmund Hamilton and Kurt Swarm. Uluvak was an ordinary humble lab assistant on the planet Lupra. He was engaged, as any true genius should be, in research in the fields of nature, energy. Yes, it sounds as vague as his life's way, but one day, everything went off plan. A beam of multicolored light burst from another dimension and struck poor Ulu. The result was no burns, no mutations, no telepathy, just the ability to change the color of any object. A superhero dream, you ask me? Well, not quite. The newly minted colored kid happily went to Earth and applied to the Legion of Superheroes. After all, changing colors is almost like controlling time, only meaningless. The committee looked, scratched their foreheads, and politely declined. The reason? His ability was deemed completely useless in battle. Vak was in shock. He was sure he had just chosen the wrong colors. Maybe he should have started with black. Would it be black? It is... Welcome to the Club of the Rejected, he said to himself when he was invited to the Legion of Substitute Heroes. They welcomed him with open arms because, well, even alongside the guy who eats everything or the guy who can petrify himself, he looks like a real superhero. His ability is color changing. He can change the color of any object, creature, surface of the sky and earth, enemy, ally, the sunset of your self-esteem, anything. Once he recolored the sky and earth to confuse an enemy, and this worked. The enemy probably just didn't expect to feel visual discomfort. He can also emit black-colored rays that blind opponents. Question: if it's a black-colored ray, it's not visible in the dark. Alright, never mind. It's comics. And of course, camouflage. Over time, Color Kid learned to use his power for camouflage, both for himself and for others. Color Kid is a metaphor for everyone who tried, dreamed, believed, and he eventually became a guy who can repaint objects. He may not be the most powerful, the most impressive, or the most needed, but he will always find time to paint the world, at least in black. Okay, if we set the sarcasm aside, in real life, he would really enjoy working in a service center, repainting car colors, or as a spy, which is cool too, considering his skills in camouflage. But that's just me, already too. To the word. Meet the walking rock without a plan, aka Stone Boy. Real name, Dak Vantim. First appearance, Adventure Comics number 306, created by Edmund Hamilton. When you hear Stone Boy, you are most likely to think that he can turn into stone bibiki, mazin dieci dasambiji abazin, invulnerable, create an earthquake with a fist like Ben Grimm, or something like Colossus from Marvel. But at least reality is much less impressive. Dak Vantim is a native of the planet Zwen, where all the locals have an extremely useful household superpower. They can turn into stone and sleep for 6 months in complete darkness. That's their natural hibernation. When Dak realized he could use this power on other planets, he, like any ambitious teenager, went to apply to the Legion. Superheroes. But the Legion, after a friendly meeting and restrained laughter, politely explained that turning into an immobile block is not quite what's needed on the battlefield, especially if you are literally sleeping at that moment. Despite the rejection, Stone Boy did not lose heart. Instead, he joined the Legion of Substitute Heroes, a team of heroes not selected for the main lineup. Well, you already figured that out from the story about past dudes. And yes, he was literally used as a weapon. They dropped him from above onto enemies, threw him at opponents like furniture. He was a distraction, basically standing like a statue while others did the real work. But not all was hopeless. Over time, thanks to hypnotherapy, yes, that's still official canon, Dag learned to stay conscious during the stone transformation, and later even move in stone form. And this was indeed a breakthrough. To summarize his powers and abilities, we have the following. Transformation into stone. He can transform his body fully or partially into a durable heavy stone form. Super strength is time with so in stone form he becomes significantly stronger than an ordinary person. Naturally, durability and stone punch is he learned to turn specific body parts into stone, like a fist. Stone Boy is a story about how everyone gave up on you, but you became stronger. Literally. His strength seemed like a joke for a long time, but he did not give up and turned his weakness into a weapon, stone-like and slow, yet confidently advancing. After all, a true hero is not one who is born with perfect abilities, but one who after years of hypnosis, therapy, and ridicule, was finally able to stand up and move. Real name, Danny the Street. First appeared in Doom Patrol number 35. Authors Grant Morrison and Richard. Case, yes, you heard right, and it's not a metaphor. In DC Comics, there is a full-fledged character who is an intelligent street he was never a human, was not cursed, did not transform. He was originally street, and not just a street, but a street with character and charisma, as well as empathy and a passion for drag shows. Danny is not just real estate, he expresses himself. If he wants to, he turns a gun shop into a store for pink ballet shoes. If needed, he puts up turquoise curtains, organizes drag parades and parties for those who are too strange for the normal world. In general, if a prince and a cosmic god were to build a neighborhood, it would be Danny. The plot, even Shakespeare would say. In the DC world, anything that doesn't quite fit the mold must be destroyed. Danny was hunted by people from nowhere for being, quote, too abnormal. The Doom Patrol saved him, even moved in. Some have their headquarters in a mansion, some in Danny. Then he was kidnapped by the Brotherhood of Dada. Don't even ask how they did it, they just wanted a ride. And then he's like, sure kids, where do you give you a ride? A monster named Candlemaker attacked it there. And the street of course got a little scorched, but it survived everything and even evolved into a whole world. True, it was later taken apart to a single brick, but that brick is still alive. It is kept and protected by Crazy Jane. And by the way, she is also a heroine who has a split 64 personalities. In short, at first she thought she had no meta abilities. Then it turns out she can heal everything. So basically, just keeping you informed. DC literally has a brick with a soul that used to be a street and then
a whole world. In terms of powers and abilities, here's the summary. Danny is a street in general, a pavement,
science, style, teleportation. He can instantly move to any city. He also has molecular reconstruction, as he can create buildings, interiors, infrastructure, and so on. He can communicate through displays and signs. The result? Marvel has a sentient duck, tree, and rocket, while DC has a street that lives, breathes, hangs out, and supports everyone going through tough times. It does not fight, shoot lasers, or fly. Well, although it teleports. He just exists, and that's enough for him to be loved and remembered. He's not a villain, he's a reminder that even a street can be kinda smarter and cooler than most people. A superhero who jumps like a ball, and it's not a joke. His real name is Chuck Tane. He first appeared in Action Comics number 276. The authors are Jerry Siegel and Jim Mooney. The power of the bouncing boy is that he can inflate, become like a ball, and bounce. You're like, so what? And the comics are like, wait, he's actually good. Yes, this is a superhero who resolves conflicts not with fists, not with lasers from his eyes, but with the physics of bouncing, just like a mechanics class nightmare. Mass, impulse, angle of reflection, refraction, and so on. Chuck turns into a bouncing armored ball that, first of all, takes no damage, moves with insane speed, knocks over enemies, breaks walls, and takes out crowds with a single touch. Shooting at him is like hitting a titanium football. The harder you hit him, the more it hurts you. The Legionnaires tried to offer him grandiose names like Battlesphere or Human Bullet, but Chuck said it's all about the bounce. And he was right. Chuck, by the way, has a doctorate in metaphysical sciences. Whatever that means, it sounds scarier than a blow. Superboy. He doesn't just bounce, he plans trajectories, calculates angles, uses physics as armor. Technically, he's not a hero, but a genius like Einstein. The most interesting thing is that Chuck got his abilities by accident when he drank an experimental superplastic liquid during a sporting event. Therefore, even though he's a somewhat useful superhero in the comics, I still find it very strange, especially for the 30th century. A mannequin who became a hero. Real name, Brother Power. First appeared in the comic Brother Power, The Geek #1. Authors, Joe Simon and Al Baer. This is perhaps one of those cases when DC really overdid it in their attempts to create a superhero. His story does not begin on a distant planet, in a secret laboratory, or even with mutated DNA. He is a mannequin. Yes, the most ordinary rag mannequin from a clothing store display, which one day came to life after being struck by lightning. Yes, this was enough to empower a soulless doll with consciousness, personality, and a whole set of superhuman abilities. From the moment of his awakening, Brother Power finds himself in the heart of the 60s counterculture movement, in a hippie commune where he not only makes friends but also receives some education, learning chemistry, music, and even motorcycle riding. And the funniest thing is that the hippies are like, well, a mannequin, so what? That's fine. He traveled the path from a philosophizing outcast to an active fighter for justice. Along the way, he gets dragged into a freak circus from which he escapes. Then he suddenly runs for Congress. He is accused of sabotaging the rocket program, and to avoid capture, he hides in a rocket that accidentally launches into space. No, he is not sent on a rescue mission. They just launch him into the sky because he was sitting inside. Well, classic comics. And what is especially striking, despite all the absurdity, Brother Power objectively strong. He possesses superhuman strength and endurance, can absorb energy, regenerate from any material, even rags, and can even change size. He can emit electric charges, and in one comic it is shown that he can animate portraits and photographs of people. Not to mention that he survived a fall from orbit, so technically the mannequin is stronger than most street heroes of DC. But despite all these abilities, Brother Power's image remained absolutely strange. He is a hero without blood, bones, and essentially without a real body. His moral foundation is pacifism, and he avoids violence to the very end. He lives by the principles of love and understanding, as if stuck in an eternal LSD trip of the Woodstock era. He can stop violence, light up a bulb, inspire a crowd, and even change the course if someone took him seriously. He disappears for a decade, then suddenly returns like in 2009 to save a child from a burning building, symbolically sacrificing himself for the future, although he himself has long been outdated and almost forgotten. Brother Power is a living reminder that the superhero genre is capable of surprising, sometimes even to the point where you find yourself thinking that you're reading comics about a mannequin. Not about Batman or Superman, but about a mannequin. A dead man who's watched the game The Driver. Real name Boston Brent. First appeared in Strange Adventures number 205. Authors Arnold Drake and Carmine Infantino. Ballerina Cappuccino. Oh my, how does this... It sounds modern. One of the most powerful and simultaneously strangest heroes of DC. His real name, as I mentioned, is Boston Brent, and in life, he was a circus performer. He swung on trapezes, drank, fought, and overall did not lead the life of the most model citizen. Until he got a bullet in the chest right during performance. He was killed in front of a crowd, and at that moment, his life suddenly just began. After death, Boston went neither to heaven nor hell. His soul was intercepted by a mystical entity named Ramakrishna and assigned a punishment. Instead of afterlife peace, he must wander the earth, helping others. That is, literally, he cannot die again, but he cannot live either. He simply exists, a bodiless ghost, doomed to eternal heroism. From a technical standpoint, he is a nightmare for any villain. He can possess people's bodies, fully control their actions and words, read their thoughts, erase memories, and travel between dimensions. He is able to fly, become invisible, pass through walls, and sense death. But the entire essence of Deadman's strangeness is different. This is not a superhero in armor, not an ancient god, nor a genetically modified mutant. He's a dead man. His body decomposed long ago. He cannot eat, cannot sleep, cannot touch anything directly. He can only temporarily occupy someone else's body, after which he's left alone again, invisible and forgotten. Even after returning to Earth, his soul remained bound to Nanda Parbat, a mystical place that sounds like a vacation but is in fact a spiritual prison. And what is particularly ironic, he had relationships. He is a ghost who cannot even touch, yet he dated a woman. Deadman has a personal life, while many heroes with bodies, abilities, and millions do not. Throughout his life, he participated in global events, fought demons, saved the world alongside Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, encountered Dr. Manhattan, and even survived a confrontation with Ra's al Ghul in the very heart, Antarctica. He could have been one of the most important characters in the DC universe, if not for one, but he is corpse. Deadman is a hero who is not only without a body but also without presence. He is always nearby, but no one knows him. He cannot gain fame, cannot give interviews, cannot be an idol. He can only quietly save the world from the shadows and then disappear before anyone realizes that he was there. And in this perhaps lies the main oddity of Deadman. He is neither alive nor dead, yet always remains in the shadows, but that is precisely his strength. So here is a selection of the most strange, absurd, and simultaneously charming characters from the universe. DC. As you may have noticed, this company has something in common. Many of them were conditionally linked with the future 30th century, while others were closely related to the Doom Patrol. In general, the fourth initially started as assistants, but suddenly emerged from the shadows and became truly unforgettable. Someone became a street, someone a sword, someone devoured everything that was poorly guarded, and all this is part of that very crazy magic of comics for which we love them. If you enjoyed these characters as much as I did, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to not miss the next episodes. There are even more incredible heroes, villains, and stories ahead that will make you say, is this really not a fanfic? Write in the comments who surprised you the most in today's selection and who you would add to the next episode. As always, it's Max on the mic. This is the channel Mageeka Geeks. Thank you for watching until the end. See you, and remember, in the world of comics, even a brick can be more important than half of the Justice League. That's all from me.